Welcome to Shor Machshava on the Daf. We're holding in Chulin Daf Yud Zayin. The morning Daf tells us the big chiddush that when Am Yisrael went to Eretz Yisroel, Dover Tomi Ish Telehu. They can eat Dover Tomi. And the Gemara learns from the pasuk Boti Mileim Kol Tuv Umavir Barabo Umarav Kasle de Chazire. They can eat a piece of pig. When they're conquering Eretz Yisroel, that's what they can do. Now we have a big machlekes Rambam in Ramban regarding when is this thing mutter. The Rambam learns that any time Am Yisrael went to war, they can eat the Dover Asur. Why? So the Rambam says, if he's very hungry, he has nothing else to eat. So the Ramban says not from the Rambam is because of Pikuach Nefesh. Because Pikuach Nefesh don't need a pasuk for that. Anytime a person has Pikuach Nefesh, he's allowed to save himself. And the Ramban also disagrees with the Rambam. This has to do with every time they go to war. He says only in the first 7 years, Mashra from our Gemara, in the first 7 years when they're conquering Eretz Yisroel, that's the only time it's mutter. And l'chor the Rambam is l'shitasi, because the Maharal in Tiferes Yisroel Perek Ches, he brings the Rambam in Mori Nevuchim that says that the reason the Torah said not to eat macholos asuris is because it's not healthy. It's not healthy, it's not hygiene, it's not clean. Chazir is a very dirty animal, so that's why we don't eat these animals. So the Maharal attacks the Rambam and disagrees with him very strongly. He says, according to that, the Torah becomes a sefer of refuas. It's a medical book, a science book. And he brings later the Chazal that say, Lo yomer adam yiv shibaso chazir. I don't want to eat this thing. We're doing the mitzvahs because Kodesh Baruch Hu gave us the mitzvahs. We're doing the mitzvahs because that's the gzeira of Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's Chachmas HaKodesh Baruch Hu. And we're following the Ratzon Hashem. Says the Maharal, he brings a raya from our Gemara. Says if the reason why we're not eating chazir because it's not healthy, so why when they're going to Eretz Yisroel to conquer Eretz Yisroel, then you do eat it? But if you say it's Ratzon Hashem, so then the pshat is there's Ratzon Hashem to eat it during these years, and the rest of the years not. As we'll see in a moment, maybe a reason for it. So it comes out the Rambam is l'shitasi. The Rambam that goes with the reasoning of the Torah. So he says no, there's a sensible reason why we're eating chazir. Because we're talking about when a person goes to war and he's very hungry, he has to eat. The Nois Kelim explains it's not because Pikuach Nefesh dafka, like the Ramban asks. Even if he's not Pikuach Nefesh, but he has to make sure that he has food when he goes to war. And that applies every time you go to war. So even though it's not so healthy, you need to allow it during wartime. But the Ramban and the Maharal, they learn they're going with the Mahalach, not like the Rambam. It's not because of a reason that we understand. We have here the Ratzon Hashem that we should not eat treifus. And there's a certain time, 7 years, when the conquering Eretz Yisroel, that this is allowed. Now, what really is the pshat that during the 7 years shekifshu, then is they're allowed to eat the basar chazir? Well, why would that be so? Why will that change according to the Ramban and the Maharal? So in the Drashas Evan Shoyeb, it was written by a Talmid of the Rashba. And he brings Dover Niflam Hoyd, he says, he brings the name of Chazal. Shekol HaDvarim bebrias ha'olam hayu tehorim v'lo haya tuma b'olam lebadol b'aychayim. When the Kodesh created the world, there was no tumah. After the Nochash hitil zuhamo, then everything became tumah. Then you have a chazir. Ula asid lava, you come asid lava, yitar hakoil. Shetipasek hazoyamo. He says, Kamosh Amru, why is it called chazir? She'asid lachzor leYisrael. The Rechaim in Vayikra, Parikudal, Pasuk Zayin also brings this idea that Chazir, he's going to come back, he'll be mutter. Rechaim explains, not that the same Chaz will be mutter, but he will be Ma'alegeiro, so that's why he'll be mutter. And many of the Mefarshim discuss what is the source of this, do we have that source or not? The Torah Tamima said that we don't have a source for that, but there's a discussion about that, but you see that Joshua 7 Shayab does bring it. So he says like this, when Am Yisrael conquering Eretz Yisroel, then we're oisik, as if we're now in the time of the Osad Lovai. He doesn't explain why, but l'chura, a little bit of a direction to understand it, Eretz Yisrael is the gate to Olam Haba. We learn in Shkalim that anybody who lives in Eretz Yisrael is as if he's living in Olam Haba. How do we know that Am Yisrael has Olam Haba? You learn from Eretz Yisrael. Kol Yisrael yishmecheg Olam Haba, because it says Lo'olam Yusharetz, talk about Eretz Yisrael. So although Eretz Yisrael is not yet Olam Haba, but because that's the gateway to Olam Haba, so when you're conquering Eretz Yisrael, you're making Eretz Yisrael part of ours. So now you're already touching that gateway. You're creating the pathway to Olam Haba. So those years were oisik as if we are in the time of L'Osid Lovai. So he says, if L'Osid Lovai, the Chaz will be mutter. That's the reason when you're conquering Eretz Yisrael, Chaz is mutter at that time because you're oisik here in Kibush Haaretz. V'advarim nifloim, you need more iyum medover. Anyone who wants to join or sponsor the Shomachshava Shiurim, please email shomachshava@gmail.com.